Hi, in this video we're going to take a quick look at some of the options for creating and viewing data that you've captured from App Insights and Log Analytics. So if we take a look in our Log Analytics workspace, we would see these tables captured in the left-hand side, which we'll have a look at in a moment. So you'd see all the ones that are marked as out-of-the-box tables. They're the ones that App Insights is going to be storing data in. So you're going to have things like performance counters, you're going to have metrics, requests. Now, the thing to note is the names of the tables that you would see in Log Analytics are slightly different to App Insights. So in App Insights, you would see a table called requests. In Log Analytics, it's called app requests. And I think this is just part of the history of the two products, where originally they were separate and then they got merged so that one uses the other. And I think that's just how the table names are. So depending on where you execute your query, you might need to change the name of the table. At the bottom, you'd see in a previous video we looked at where we could have a custom log table. So you just need to send a message to Log Analytics, tell it a table. If it doesn't exist, it'll create that table, and you'll have a new custom log table here. And then you can see an example query where I'm querying my custom log table on the top there. Now, what we're able to do is in Azure, we can use Azure workbooks to create a bunch of dashboards, and we can have a look at the log data, which is coming from Log Analytics under the hood. You could also maybe do something like a Power BI dashboard, which is the kind of thing we've done in the past. So an example was I created a business kind of a management level SLA dashboard by using custom queries against Log Analytics, which were driven by availability tests, which we'll look at in a future video. But you can kind of do lots with that data is the key thing. Now, what we're going to have a look at in the Azure portal is if I just open this back up, and I'm going to just filter the type here, and we'll have a look at these workbooks that I've got. So you can see I've got a few of them. I'll just close some tabs down here. Okay, so let's go through these one at a time. Now you can do a combination of stuff here. So you can go for a dashboard that might be focused on your custom scenario, so your business use case, which would be the railcar tracking one at the bottom. The other ones are more focused on the technology components. So we'll go through, we start by looking at the API functions one here. So these are the Azure functions where they're logging to Log Analytics. Now you can see here I've got an example of my function use by 30 minutes. So you can see we've had a period of time where not much traffic, then we had a little bit of traffic here, and you can see over the last 24 hours we've had this many calls of each type. So this will be from the previous video, I guess, that I did, and then we've had a few railcar updates. We can do things like function average durations and stuff like that here. I can see events for my railcar. So we've had a lot of tag updates, but you can see here I got a railcar delivered event with a load slip. And really, if we have a look at the edit, here it's pretty easy to kind of put these dashboards together. So you just need to work out what your custom query is going to be. So here I'm doing a time chart where I've used make series to turn the data into a query, like a graph friendly format, and then you can just render it as a time chart. Here it's just as simple as querying out the requests and getting the HTTP method, the role name, and a few properties, and I can create like a really simple grid here. Now, if you notice, this one's pointing at my App Insights. It could equally have pointed at my my Log Analytics directly. So this is me just creating a simple user-friendly dashboard for my Azure functions. If we take a look, I think we'll have a look at this one, because this is the background worker functions that go to our Synapse platform. So I've probably got some similar stuff here. Maybe the different one is I've got a bit more traffic going through. So you can see traffic per 10 minutes. So that, just a friendly graph to show me durations of functions and stuff like that. The log excuse me, can't speak. The Logic Apps standard ones. This is more generically about how my workflows are running. So the good thing here is if you've got app insights for all of your Logic apps, you can kind of get this really good holistic view of what's going on. So here I can see the workbook, the run profiles. I can go down and I can see things like how many Logic apps have been completed of each type. So if we have a look, we'll come back to that, I'll have a look at them queries. Can have workflows that have had errors in the last 30 days. So I've got a few error scenarios going on here. I can even parse out those errors and get like a list of error messages. So I've got things like loaded railcar doesn't exist. Yes, there's a lot of them where the loaded railcar doesn't exist. I can look at things like long-running actions. So if I've got certain actions that are taking a long time, I can easily identify those and focus my development effort on tuning them. And when do the long-running actions happen? So, for example, if they happen at certain points in the day, you can kind of figure that sort of stuff out as well. I just want to show the difference in the query here, so it's easy for people to see. So we take a look at workflows completed. So this one's an App Insights query using the traces log. So in addition to requests, a lot of trace messages will get logged by Logic Apps for each of the actions. So I can extend out and work out things like the run ID, the workflow name, the Logic App name, and it makes it really easy for me to create a flat table by pulling out those columns. So if we have a look, I guess if we go back over here. I'm just going to grab this query so I can show under the hood what it looks like. So this would be the query that we would run from the workbook, but I can just do, if we take the summary out here, in fact, we'll just take all of that out for now. So for anybody who's not as familiar as with building custo queries, I'll just show how you can sort of pull these fields out. Okay, so you can see we've got a lot of stuff going on here. So what I could do is I could find, say if I want the workflow run start, I can go in and start looking at the custom dimensions, and I'll be able to get things like, where are we? So things like that'll give me the site name. So that would be the log analytics, the Logic App name. I can start looking for things like, say, if we wanted the host name, the correlation ID. One of the things you might do, duration in milliseconds. So let's say we wanted so anything longer than 10 seconds, maybe. I'll take that off. Sorry, I've cast that to a string. So you can see there's my long-running ones, for example. So you can play around quite a lot with these queries and figure out what events you want, and filter. And then if we go back over to the query here, you can see I'm looking for ones where it's a workflow run event, and then I just flatten it to get that nice handy grid there. Next up, we've got API management. So here I can use the requests captured by APIM to give me a holistic view of how my API management's performing. So for example, if we go down, so we'll let that top one for the requests last 30 days, we'll just give that a second to run, but you can see I've had some errors over the last 30 days when they've happened. How much have I used each operation, so I can get the counts of IDs and stuff like that. And then we've got the errors by operation as well. So this one's by API, this one's by operation within that API. And then you can also do some quite cool stuff when you're capturing the headers on API management. So a logic app will send a bunch of headers to APIM. If you capture them, you can then start working out a query, which is how which logic app used which API. So you can see here I've got the conversion API, the railcar ID operation here was used by this logic app 120 times. This one was used by that submit to SAP, and you can kind of see that relationship between which logic apps use which APIM, which is pretty cool. See things like logic app that had errors calling APIM, so that'll if I had a common problem, I can work out what the run ID was and go and have a look at individual logic apps to see what the problems were. And this you can really just from a support perspective, as an Azure expert, you could give a dashboard to be able to help people who are troubleshooting get a flavour of how your APIM is running. Again, you can do loads more different queries and stuff. And then this one's the custom workbook. So here, instead of looking at the technology, I'm just looking at some queries to help manage my railcar tracking. So I could see things like, first off in my log analytics, I'm just looking at the log sizes here. And I think this is a quite interesting one where it kind of comes back to that simplified logging. So if you imagine I've got all this data coming into App Insights and Log Analytics, and one of the challenges that particularly Logic Apps is going to send a lot of telemetry to App Insights, and it includes things like performance metrics, traces, requests. And if you look here, that app metrics for the performance counters, that's by far the biggest table. Now, if you look at my custom log here, this you'll see is 40 events. So by just having my custom login, I've got 40 events. My App Insights is created between here, what we got, best part of 250,000 events. So that comes back to the thing I was saying earlier with all the good stuff that comes with having the out of the box login. You also take on the load of all this data that you're probably not going to use 99% of the data, but you can only tune it so far. So here in my log analytics consumption, so here I've got some tracked properties which we'll go and have a quick look at over here. It's just a case of remembering which one of these it is. I think it's this one. Yeah, so here we've got the parse JSON, and I've basically added tracked properties here where I've said, look, these values will be the load slip and the railcar ID. So with the out-of-the-box log analytics integration for the consumption logic app, in addition to option one was I send my own message, but I can also parse out tracked properties and get my custom business values in here. So that gives me a nice easy log to look at to see what rail cars I've received. You can also use tracked properties with Logic Apps Standard. So here I can see again the different Logic apps, what run ID it was, but also I can track some values like railcar ID, product, and that kind of thing, which again helps me work out which Logic app process which message. Now, the custom data collector, this is the one where I've been sending the events myself, so I can create a similar table and just kind of use it from my custom message. So if we have a look at the difference in these queries, this one's going to be pretty simple because all I'm doing is reading from that table, and I'm just flattening it and getting those keys out. And actually, if I had more demos in here, you probably want to wear clothes to make sure you get the right logic apps and stuff. Whereas if we start using these tracked property queries, you can see how much more complicated this query is to get. I've got to extract out certain values, deep digging into the message, and I can get much more stuff in it, but I'm making the queries that bit more complex. And again, this one isn't too bad here, so really just looking for ones with a load slip ID and projecting out fields again. But you can see these ones here, these track property fields, they're the ones that the logic app's going to create for you. So just thinking about this, we've now got our solution, which was sending different kinds of telemetry from functions, logic apps, API management, and we're able to create these useful dashboards to just give us a single pane of glass view on how our system's working, which I think a lot of people are going to find very useful.